Welcome to the Growlers and Gremlins podcast, an alcoholic adventure in cryptids, paranormal, and the occult. Coming to you weekly from the heartland of America.
All right, the gang's all here. It's the Growlers and Gremlins podcast.
What was that?
The gang's all here, guys.
The gang's all here. It's the
Growlers and Gremlins podcast.
I love the vibrato on that, Brian.
The beer of the week is...
That's what you guys get when you let the guest...
Usually they don't break down in the first sentence.
It's not let the guest, it's make the guest.
And we offer to let someone else do it for you, and you're like, oh, I got this.
I've had one too many.
You've had half of one too many.
Shut your fat mouth. Anyway, okay. Our beer is Candy Crushable. It's 18th Street Brewery from Hammond, Indiana.
Red flag.
John, just because Hammond sucks doesn't mean the beer might.
I'm a cracker open.
Yeah, I gotta try this.
A pale ale with lactose sugar added.
They didn't need to know that.
Gonna give Jason diarrhea.
You're gonna drink it all. We're gonna funnel it into you.
No, this is a beer that has been on the shelves of like the local liquor stores for years now, and I've never picked it up. But today's the day.
Job.
It smells great. Why would you say that?
Horrible, but
It smells like an IPA.
I'm not looking forward to this.
I'm not sure how I feel about the taste of it. It's a.
Are you kidding?
I don't know.
What is wrong with you guys? This is actually great.
I mean, it's good. Maybe if it was my first one.
I thought it was god awful.
I think this is really good.
You know, I don't drink a lot of beers. I strictly
Jesse.
tequila.
It's like an IPA with the edge taken off. Like, it's sweet.
We've had better beers, but
It's a sweet IPA. It's nice.
It's no tax, man.
It's like if they took an IPA and added lactose sugar.
So it's just an IPA with sugar in it.
Yeah, it's good.
I get a little bit of that candy taste, but not
Yeah,
like
well, because IPAs are
overpowering.
bitter and they added some sugar, it makes it taste nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not my favorite.
John, look, it's my favorite stage.
Honestly, in my opinion, this is probably the best beer we've had
Clean
in the
House?
last 4 episodes.
That's a different one.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay,
what do you have?
so I'm gonna talk about, and I don't know if I'm saying this exactly right, but Tōhoku Tsunami spirits. What?
Oh, no, I was going to pronounce it in a Japanese accent, but then I was like, it'd probably come off as racist.
Yeah.
Tōhoku.
I mean,
Tōhoku.
yeah, I think that's okay. Which I don't exactly understand all the prefectures and all that stuff with Japan.
Brian does.
It's essentially their states.
Okay.
They just call them prefectures.
So that's okay.
Or states or counties. I would say more counties, but they're bigger.
Okay. Yeah. So that's okay. That's like the northeastern region of Japan is what Tōhoku is, which okay. Anyway, so March 11th, 2011, a magnitude 9.1 earthquake hit northeastern Tōhoku region of Japan, and then was followed by a tsunami. And then it started snowing after that. And it was considered the most powerful earthquake recorded in Japan.
Was that the one that did the nuclear thing?
Nuclear power plant failure.
Okay.
Same one.
And you know, so the earthquake lasted about 6 minutes, and tsunami waves reached 130 feet. Over 19,000 people died. There was over 2,500 missing. You know, and due to the power plant thing and all that, the crematorium was down. And Japanese people, a lot of them, you know, they don't bury their dead, they cremate them. And so, since it was down and a lot of people died, you know, they had to bury the bodies temporarily and then dig them back up later and then cremate them. And so, you know, there's a lot of ghost encounters in that whole Tōhoku area. and one area that has a large number of ghost encounters is Ishinomaki. I think that's how you say it.
Ishinomaki.
Ishinomaki.
Is it Ishinomaki?
Mm-hmm.
Ishinomaki. Okay, yeah.
So I'll go over some of the encounters, interviews with people. Okay, we'll start off here. Okay, there's a ghost of an old woman is said to haunt a refugee camp in Unagawa and have regularly sat down for a cup of tea there. The cushion that would be left out for her was supposedly soaked in seawater every time her visits were over.
Shut up, funny? John.
She got a salty clam.
No. It's supposed to be because,
I can't wait till
she drowned.
You get haunted. Oh,
yeah.
You're going to get haunted by a ghost.
Seawater.
Shoot the Panzer.
Brian,
anyway.
if I'm ever going to be haunted by a ghost, it'll be yours.
Yeah.
Brian killed himself in your house. Now he's haunting you for fun.
You would do something like that. just to get back at me for like everything I've ever done to you. You're already planning to do it, but you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do it in his house just so he has to deal with it.
Okay.
Sorry, anyway. Alecia. That was John's fault.
Anyway, another one is dripping wet visitors would knock on the doors of homeowners, or homeowners would answer, and it would be a person dripping wet, and the person would be asking for clothes, dry clothes, and the person would give them dry clothes and they'd vanish, and it was just kind of weird. And there's been a lot of psychic involved in all this, and one of them is there was a psychic who supposedly encountered a group of men wandering the streets at night who had no idea that they were dead, and the psychic had to tell them that they were dead. And I don't know, with a lot of this, it's kind of weird because they all seem to be so calm about it all, and just like,
what, the spirits?
Well,
or the people? The
people, and if I saw somebody and I, got the feeling that it was a ghost, I wouldn't
be freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't just be like, I want to help them get to the other side.
On the other hand,
which I think that's a cultural kind of thing.
Could you imagine being like a lost spirit and you go to a house, you just need some help, you ring the doorbell, the person comes to the door and it's you just going
I would assume that's more cultural than anything.
Yeah, I think
they have so many things.
Because here we'd just be terrified of that.
But they have so many stories of spirits, and almost that exact. They make movies about, this woman died. I think there was one where she got up on the roof and died in a water tank, and she haunts.
That's not a movie. That's Elisa Lam.
No, there's an actual movie. It's in Korean.
Oh,
there was also a movie in the U.S. With John C. Reilly.
No, but the woman haunts the hotel, and she's trying to get this woman and her daughter. She's trying to get the daughter.
Okay, they remade that in the U.S.
Yeah,
with John C. Reilly.
Okay, never seen it.
It's an apartment complex.
Yeah,
and
I took a lady on a date to see that movie. She never spoke to me again.
And these are all before the Elisa Lam incident happened.
Yeah.
Weird.
Interesting.
But, yeah, I know.
We'll do an episode on that one of these days, but Netflix kind of wrecked it.
It's a tiger. You can't beat the tiger.
Anyway, so there's, I got a bunch of different encounters I'll kind of go over. A mother who had a young child that died in the tsunami. She has the toys in her house, and they'll just go off from time to time without being touched or anything, which, a lot of times those kids and baby toys,
they do that.
They have to be touched though most of the time.
Well,
but I will say certain ones, because we have
that baby doll
go off.
We have that one that if it's on, that thing will just go off at random,
which can be a little spooky.
Yeah, but especially the baby that sucks its thumb when you put the thumb in its mouth. It'll go off at random, even if the thumb isn't in its mouth. You'll just be walking upstairs at night and you'll start hearing this. You're like, what?
Well, that's one of the ways I used to annoy my sister is I'd go in her room and turn her Furby on and then leave. And just all of a sudden the Furby would start talking and creep her out.
Didn't you do something much worse with like her lights or something?
Yes, I did. She had a lamp that had belonged to our great-grandmother who had passed away. And I found the remote control outlet that we used for our Christmas lights. And so I plugged the light into that and then just sat in the basement, just clicking the button over and over again. She thought Grandma had come back to visit her.
Absolutely genius.
She was having a sleepover.
So funny.
She was having a sleepover at the time. All of them were terrified. It was
That's
great.
Great grandmother's lamp.
God. Yeah, that's mean. It's kind of funny though if she had people over.
I hope that you like. Did you ever tell her?
Oh yeah, years later.
I was gonna say it'd be so funny if you never told her, and then like she's 70 years old, telling her grandkids about their great grandmother's lamp.
Well, I come from a family of a-holes. Like what my mom loved to do is she'd tell like ghost stories, and then she'd have Dad in the basement with like a broomstick just at the middle, like
thumping the floor,
like in the middle of the story, just to scare the crap out of people. That's just the way my family is.
That's awesome.
All right. So, you know, okay, basically traumatized survivors, they began to see faces of victims in puddles or like just their eyes in the puddles. Yeah. Horrifying. I wouldn't want to see some eyes, just eyes in a puddle. You know, and they would get kind of scared of like rain and when it was going to rain because of that, you know. But they'd see people wandering the beaches and appearing at doors. You know, figures drenched in water. It was a big thing with taxis too. They'd see people hailing for cabs, you know, and whatever.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, and then, you know, they'd disappear, which I think I've got a story in here. But
the most interesting thing about that though is that happens quite a bit. And when it does, the cab drivers, they're not freaked out by it. They pay for the ride out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a respect for the dead, you know?
That's another thing amazing. That's weird to think about.
So what happens? Like they hail the cab, they get in, and while they're driving down the road, they just disappear.
There's no getting, sometimes there's no getting in at all. They'll pull up to somebody hailing a cab, the door will open on its own, and they'll be sitting there waiting for somebody to get in, and then they're looking back over their shoulder like, where I saw somebody.
Yeah, here, okay, taxi drivers, you know, for some of them, it had only been a few months since the tsunami, and there was not many customers. One driver in particular was shocked to suddenly spot a young woman hailing him down in a particularly hard-hit area, wearing a heavy winter coat in the middle of summer. And, of course, the figure was completely drenched. The driver barely had time to realize that it hadn't rained in days before she climbed into the back seat and asked to go to an area that had been largely abandoned. And it was mostly an empty area. So he was like, "Are you sure?" And there was a long silence, and supposedly she said in a shivering voice, "Have I died?" And then the driver was, you know, kind of scared after that, and he turned around and she was gone. Like, there's nothing in the car anymore. Like, you know, when they were on the drive.
The moment she realized she died, she moved on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's what, there's been a lot of reports of that. And I can't remember, because, you know, this whole story in particular, the, what's the name of the town or the place? Ishinomaki. There's an episode, Unsolved Mysteries, about that place in particular. But, you know, there's been reports of this kind of stuff through the whole area that was hit, not just that one town, or whatever it is. But there was also a reverend, Buddhist reverend, that helped a lot of people, like, bury loved ones, and he also did some, I guess they would be exorcisms, but the thing is, in these stories and interviews with some of these people, they don't necessarily think that the things are evil that are in them or passing through them. They just want to be believed and heard and stuff, I guess, is how they describe it. But anyway, there was a man who had become possessed. He lived miles from the coastline where, you know, the worst of the disaster was, and he had stayed away from the disaster zone until finally he went ahead and went to go check it out. And then after seeing all of that along the beaches and everything, he went back home to, you know, his family, had dinner, and then after dinner, he went into the backyard and started rolling around in mud and, like, growling at people and being really aggressive.
Did he get possessed by
I do
a
that
dog?
whenever we have shrimp scampi.
Oh, God. But anyway.
Long story, Jason.
No. His, you know, and his family was, like, mortified. They were like, what the heck? You know? And the next day, he had no recollection of it. And so that's when they then went and visited the Reverend. But yeah, so in some of the, you know, beliefs and whatnot in Japan, you know, I mean, Japan has had long-standing cultural relationships with ghosts. And many Japanese came to believe that because the tsunami took people before they were ready to die, that their restless spirit still wanders the plane of reality. And also with the Tōhoku prefecture, it was one of the last parts of Japan that had become industrialized and was still has a lot of rural. That's it. Areas. I can't say it.
Ask her to say the name Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen?
Jewel.
She can't say the name Joel.
Jewel.
She usually says Jewel.
But anyway, and so because it was, you know, last area that had been industrialized and was a lot of, you know, that R word. I can't say.
The R word that you can't say?
Yep, Brian just said it.
Okay. I was thinking of something else.
Yeah, we know you are stupid.
The R word you can't say.
Anyway, I'm trying to finish the story.
Trainable.
It was full of people who still practice the ancient traditions regarding spirits of the dead. Yeah. And so, you know, it's possible that more residents of Ishinomaki are open to the existence of ghosts. And, you know, supposedly there's one ritual where a shaman, I can say that word, opens himself up to the spirits and becomes a vessel through which the spirit can tell their story. And
so like a what's
spiritual
the word?
Intermediate.
Like
there's a word.
Conduit?
No, this is a really common word. I don't know why I can't remember it. Seance. Like a seance where you have a medium who the spirit speaks through.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what the thing with the Buddhist reverend guy kind of was supposed to be also, maybe, when these people were having these things. Mm-hmm. You know, or at least that's what they believed. And so, you know. But, yeah, because, you know, there was, in the whole area, you know, reports of ghosts and spirits that people were seeing, but some, you know, some people are kind of like, well, you know, they're just making it up and stuff. But because of that area being what it was, I think could have been more of the reason why maybe people were seeing things, whether they were or weren't, you know.
No.
You never know. But also talked a little bit about psychics. One thing that I read was like some of the psychics there, you know, they have different views on things, and some of them, there was a school that 74 out of the 75 kids there all died. And
did anybody investigate why all the kids died?
And why there was only one survivor?
Yeah, I guess that one
Lord of the
got
Flies.
lucky. But one psychic said that it was a horrific picture, seeing the spirits of the dead crawling on the ground near the school, some of them apparently stuck in invisible water and thrashing if they were drowning in midair. And another psychic said, that was nonsense. The spirits were at peace. They were, restless, or they weren't, restless and, searching for their parents in their home, that, they were already home. But
why do you do this? Like, we have you on as a guest, and like the first time it's like, oh, it's all lighthearted and fun, and then you talk about like children going missing in the Smoky Mountains, and then this time all lighthearted and fun, and then you're like, thousands of people died at a school of children, 74 out of 75 died.
If it makes you feel any
better.
I just
I'm all happy and hyped up, and then I just get sad, and I've had a lot of beer, and it's just such a downer for the rest of the day.
With the percentages of people that died in the tsunami, most of them were older.
But 74 at least
were kids.
Yes, but there was over 19,000 that died, so there probably was a good amount of children that,
Could you imagine, though, being that kid, the one kid in the entire school that survives? Like, why were you spared? Like, how do you live up to that? Why was your life spared? What are you supposed to do with your life? You know what I mean? Like, you'd feel like your life is supposed to have some great purpose.
No.
How do you ever live up to it?
Nope.
The boy who lived.
Yeah. The Harry Potter complex. That's what we'll call it.
Is it the boy who lived? Or is it just you didn't get murdered?
It wasn't even murder. It was a natural disaster.
I know.
And so it almost feels like if anything was to be like God's will, a natural disaster wipes out every other kid and you're the only one to survive. Like, I don't know, I feel like that would give you like this overwhelming sense of a purpose you could never live up to.
I would go with no.
That's dark. Well, that's because, Brian, in your scenario, you're like, well, yeah, that's because I shot all the other kids.
No, I just don't.
I am the boy who lives.
No, I just don't think if you're someone that survives, it's not on you to make good on their memory.
Well, have you ever heard of survivor guilt?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think about that. Like, as a kid,
that's also a thing some people don't get at all.
Yeah, but like as a kid, like I feel like you'd feel that pretty intensely.
You'd have to return to school at some point. I mean, it may not be the same building anymore.
It's just you and one other teacher.
Unless they're bringing... They're either busing them to a whole new school in a different area, or...
you're that one kid. If you end up going to another school because your school district is wiped out, you're that one kid who made it. That's a lot of pressure.
I mean, what if it wasn't something like really like, oh wow, this kid is better than the rest of the kids, or stronger than the rest of the kids?
No, not even that. Just like,
what if they were just homesick?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you just have to wonder, like, why me?
It didn't really say what I was reading about it, but I mean, that could have been.
I would wonder.
That's some Final Destination shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean, there's so much more in this that all kinds of different interviews and stories from people, because it was just kind of ridiculous how many people are having these ghost sightings and encounters. And you have to wonder, it's like, well, whether you believe in ghosts or not yourself, is it true, or is it just loved ones finding a way to cope with the horrible thing that happened?
Well, I mean, we already brought up survivor's guilt. I mean, it could be in a,
I'm going to say, I don't think the taxi drivers are going to have a bunch of survivor's guilt.
I mean, anybody that's still alive in that area is going to be like,
what if these people didn't even live in this area?
It doesn't matter. What was Jason going to say?
The idea that, so many of your neighbors and loved ones were lost in this natural disaster is going to mess with the psyche.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I'm going to say no,
No.
How many people a year get killed by tornadoes in the Midwest, and all the people do is just rebuild their house?
Very many.
Is it not?
Yeah, no, usually our casualties from tornadoes are extremely low in the
They
U.S.
have built enough basements.
Even hurricanes are, the casualty count is
more,
very
though.
low, though.
That's because people just refuse to leave your house.
19,000 people dying is
in one accident.
that's massive.
And when you watch there's live video in National Geographic videos of the water flooding in, like I can imagine the horror. Like I'm already afraid of the ocean, and when that water comes rushing in, like that's it caught a lot of towns unaware on the coast.
Yeah, I don't know that
they had a minute warning for the tsunami.
Probably the largest casualty disaster we've had in this country
9/11
was 9/11. 2,977 people were killed.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask. Like, do we have any?
This is almost 10 times that number.
Yeah, this tsunami
from a natural
was
disaster.
The fourth worst in the world. It was worse in
all
Japan,
of history.
yeah, that's recorded.
Hit the lowlands.
I mean, that's just massive casualties.
Flooded.
Like, we don't even have any reference point for that in America because we've never had an event that had that level of casualties.
We've had 2 separate events.
I mean, if you, as long as you don't count wars, but.
No, even then, I mean, we've had civil wars on our soil, but we haven't had a world war on our soil.
Yeah, well, the Civil War obviously dwarfs the 19,000 deaths, but that's not a natural disaster of any kind. That was our own doing.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't, like I said, with this whole situation and, people having these ghost encounters and stuff. Like, I've never personally had a ghost encounter, but I believe in ghosts. But when I think of ghosts, usually I think of, evil
You did
presence.
live in a haunted house for a time, according to your dad.
In Roachdale.
Yeah.
Well, I was too young to remember that, but supposedly the TV would turn on and stuff a lot in that big
When he saw that woman all dressed in black in the yard, and your dad had some really good stories about that house.
I was too young to really, But yeah, when I think about ghosts, I think about evil or things.
Well, I
that
think
have
that's
evil.
more the religious perspective, is that all ghosts are really demons in disguise. And
is that really the religious perspective?
Yeah.
And another fun fact that I read is that Japan, which I didn't know, is supposedly not very religious. And,
and most religions in Eastern Asia are fairly secular anyway. Like, Buddhism is sort of a secular religion. It's not a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a theistic religion.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of secular. In a way, it's more a philosophy for life. It's not really like a religion.
And so that's, I don't know, just makes it interesting to me, and the different beliefs and
a lot of religions like that leave a lot of things unexplained and open for interpretation. Where, so Buddhism doesn't really cover ghosts, and so they're left to deal with well, what is this, where certain religions like Christianity have that pretty nailed down. It's we know what happens to the dead. Anything presenting itself as something like that is most likely a demon, trying to deceive you in some way or another. And there are some religions that have spirits of the dead built in, yeah, there's ghosts for sure, but Buddhism doesn't really touch on that. So they just have to kind of deal with it, which is what surprises me, that given their culture, and, I'd imagine that most of Japan isn't necessarily Buddhist. I think that would be one of the larger religions in the country. There's another one, there's a traditional Shinto. But I think the probably the majority of Japan is probably atheist and non-religious. And it's interesting to me that given that, they're so open to the idea of these ghosts and so unafraid of it.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to be atheist but believe in ghosts.
Well, I think it's something that is kind of coming from Shinto rather than Buddhism. Where these rural areas probably, since they're more traditional, more rural, they're probably more following the Shinto religion rather than Buddhism.
They probably are, because I did read something about that, but it kind of got mixed in with that one particular guy that I was reading about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Buddhist guy that did the exorcism.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, because they weren't able to properly dispose of the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I feel like that's a big factor.
Like disturbing a burial ground. Yeah. You know, that's the whole thing.
I mean, I'm talking from vague memory here, but they have this idea of if something is left out to fall into disrepair or not taken care of properly, that it attracts spirits.
Yes. There was a cemetery by my parents' house growing up that we used to go to. Then it was a cemetery that had fallen into disrepair. It was very, very old. It was the most terrifying place. Like, if anything would make you believe in ghosts, it was this place. Because you go there, I mean, we go there at night because we were like trying to ghost hunt and stuff. You know, we thought it was creepy and fun, but we had some experiences there that were absolutely terrifying. And it could have something to do with the fact that no one had been taking care of this cemetery. It was on somebody's private property. It was small. It was very old. And since somebody has actually like put in a new sign and cleaned it up and made it like a nice little place. It has a name now, but before it didn't.
Disrespect the
dead.
And
it was terrifying. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I fully believe.
Yeah. Well, we were there one time, and I mean, we went there a lot. It was like our go-to thing because it was walking distance, and we really just wanted to get scared. But there was one night I will never forget. And the person who we were supposed to have as a guest this week, who flaked out, Austin, he was with me, and we were there, you know, looking around and trying to, you know, see something, you know. And this is like, to me, the creepiest, like, paranormal experience I've had in my life. There was a headstone that was there, and we were looking at it because we decided, like, hey, this is interesting. Let's get some names, dates. We'll try to research this place, find out what we can about these people. It lifted up out of the ground, like, not to where it was like above the ground, but to where it wasn't sunk into the ground, and then it fell down on its face. And the way that it hit the ground, it wasn't large enough to have created like the whoosh effect that it did. So it was so weird. It came up like out of the ground from being sunk in for like 200 years. Came up, fell over, and just the leaves and the wind from it falling were just crazy. It was just like whoosh, and just blew all this stuff out of the way. We ran and never went back. That was the last time we ever went there. It was so terrifying, but it had turned out that we ended up looking into some of the names, and this cemetery was actually there's not enough to ever do a whole episode on this, so I'll explain it real quick now. But Elizabethtown, Indiana is a town that used to exist and now is known as Lizton.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it Lizton?
It was Lizton. They shortened it.
Allie's house is haunted.
Yes, Elizabethtown was kind of a booming young town in the 1800s in Indiana, and there was business and things were just growing, and well, it turns out it spread all the way out to the area where I live now, which is not in that town now. And they had a malaria, or no, was it malaria, or no, it was cholera.
I think so.
They had a cholera plague that came through and killed like 95% of everyone that lived in the town. That cemetery was full of victims of that plague. And there's graves of like babies and like all kinds of things. It's really creepy. But the whole town just kind of died out, and it just became this thing people knew about. And instead of being Elizabethtown, it just eventually ended up being like bastardized into Lizton. And Lizton is the only town in the world with that name. And it was just creepy. That cemetery, to me, like, I'm really not a big believer in ghosts, but that place is haunted. It's so creepy. There's something going on. Okay.
Brian, you were trying to say something?
Oh, it doesn't matter now.
Doesn't matter.
It matters.
It matters.
No, there was the religious breakdown of Japan.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into that.
69% Shinto, 66.7% Buddhism, because people...
That's over 100%.
You gonna let me continue?
Yeah.
It's because most of the time they practice Shinto and Buddhism simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
And then it's 1.2% Christian, and then 6% just various other world religions.
That's interesting too, though, because, well, the Shinto and Buddhism, like, together, to me, that doesn't seem strange at all, because Buddhism, like I said, is more like a philosophy for life more than it is a religion. So anybody could be religious with a certain religion and also practice Buddhism,
right?
Because it's just different. There was an author who, he's a Buddhist monk, and his name is, I can't pronounce it. It's, if you were reading it in English, it would look like Thich Nhat Hanh, but people call him they, Thay, and he wrote a series of books about all of the parallels between Buddhism and Christianity, just like on a philosophical level. And you could read those and be like, yeah, you know, they kind of go hand in hand, a lot of these things, but Buddhism just lacks the God and afterlife aspect of it.
Right.
But basically what he was saying is that someone could be both a Christian and a Buddhist at the same time. Yeah, it's really interesting. There are a few books he wrote, I think like 3 or 4. I read them years ago, back when I was really into that kind of stuff, like world religions and things.
See, I think I still, like, I'm not a very spiritual person, so I still lean more heavily on this was a traumatic event. It's going to have an effect on people's psyches.
Yeah.
And how they think, how they react. And, I mean, I'm sure people saw some messed up things that day.
You're the heathen of the group.
Yes, I am, and I'm proud of it.
But not a heathen as in, like, heathenism. Yeah. You're the atheist of the group.
Yeah.
Heathen and hedon are 2 different things.
I never said hedon.
Did you not say hedon?
No, I said heathen.
Oh, why'd you say it twice?
Because, like, okay, so heathen would apply, like, so there's different contexts of the word heathen. Heathen means a lack of religion or a lack of a god, but heathenism is also a term to describe old pagan religions.
Oh, I thought you said
a lot of old, like Norse pagans will refer to themselves as heathens because that's what they were called by the Christians of their time. That felt good, Brian.
Brian, pretend like you're interested in my topic.
Oh, I like your topic. I just hate listening to John ramble on for 20 minutes.
Sorry, I get into the world religion stuff.
At least it's not about accents this time.
Oh.
No, we're not starting the accent conversation again.
Oh, no, I thought you wanted me to do some German accents, like in
no
Admiral Byrd and the Magic Space Nazis.
No, you went on a rant in the Beast
I've
of
done that twice.
Yeah.
I've gone on rants about like regional dialects in America.
Yeah, we're not starting it again.
It's a problem.
Yeah, you have a problem.
No, I don't have a problem.
You have a problem. You have an unhealthy relationship with this topic, and we're going to cut it off here. So, is this the same tsunami that inspired the Shin Godzilla movie?
What year did Shin Godzilla come out?
This happened in 2011. It's pretty recent.
Oh, yeah, then definitely.
Oh, yeah.
You say, was Shin Godzilla inspired by this?
Yes, it was. I know it was inspired by a tsunami. I didn't know if it was this tsunami. And it's a... So, like, the first Godzilla was like a critique of...
Nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons, yeah. So, Shin Godzilla was about the ineffective response of government agencies to the disaster. So I wonder if that also...
Government is always ineffective.
I mean, when you have a lot of people trying to make one decision, yeah, it slows it down. So I wonder if... So I mean, I don't know much about the tsunami, but I did watch that movie. So I'm close enough to an expert, but I wonder if...
I'm close enough to an expert.
Well, I wonder if the slow government response that they were making fun of in that movie also exacerbated, you know, because like these people wanted to bury their dead or treat their dead properly and do all these things, but the government was slowing it down, which would have created an additional layer of stress on them in addition to losing their loved ones.
Yeah.
That would have just been very hard for them.
Yeah.
Just thinking, though, in the last, say, 50 years, has any country experienced any natural disasters with that level of casualties? I can't think of one.
I have to look up.
That's crazy. I mean, just any time, like in modern age, to think about 19,000 people dying.
Let's see.
That's crazy. And don't say pandemic 2020.
I wasn't gonna.
I just thought about that because it's like CNN would have you believe like 500,000 people have died. This is the worst disaster in history, you know, but yeah.
At some point, I stopped watching statistics. I did have that John Hopkins dashboard that was like being passed around.
I'm at the point where I feel like one of those people where like when people talk about COVID and how bad it is, I'm like, don't question my lived experience. Because I've had it.
10 deadliest natural disasters by highest estimated death toll, excluding epidemics and famines.
Okay.
So, oh god. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
4 million 1931 China floods.
I'm sure they were floods.
They probably were. There was
2 million 1887 Yellow River flood, which is China.
Yeah, that's when they flooded.
Yeah, China's been covering a lot of genocide with natural disasters, it seems.
830,000 1556 Shinaxi earthquake, China.
China again.
655,000 1976 Tangshan earthquake, China. And then 500,000 East Pakistan, Haiti earthquake.
I bet China will get hit with a pretty bad earthquake after they finish off the Uyghurs.
Typhoon Nina in China. They're all like earthquakes and typhoon.
But these are all like a long time ago.
What year was this?
I say like 4 of those were 1900, John.
Yeah, like I said though, like in the last 50 years, like modern society.
Category 4 Typhoon Nina in 1975.
How many people?
Oh my god, 229,000 people. That's a lot, and that's pretty recent. I mean,
China, a lot of people really close together, not the greatest housing or responses or anything. I mean, that's why the Yellow River flooding killed farmland, and there were a lot of people down there.
10 deadliest natural disasters since 1900, excluding epidemics and famines. 1931 China floods, the Tangshan earthquake, China, East Pakistan cyclone, Haiti earthquake.
How many people died in the Haiti earthquake? That wasn't all that long ago.
It says 100,000 to 316,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was in 2010. So.
That's crazy.
Now, that was an earthquake. Okay. For a second, I was thinking about
they really could have used
that hurricane that hit. Well, it wasn't Haiti. It was
What are you talking about? Katrina?
No, it was the Bahamas, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say I bet Haiti really could have used all that money that the Clinton Foundation raised for them, but never got. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying. Sorry, I don't want to get Clinton.
Hurricane Dorian, that's what I was thinking of.
Dorian?
That's the one that hit like every major island in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Just kept bouncing.
Yeah. Anyway. A little off topic with hurricanes.
It's one of those things, though, in the Caribbean, though, that after that hurricane, a lot of homes were completely abandoned. And, like, when we were in Jamaica, you'd see, like, really nice houses, like, up on a hill near the beach that are just totally empty.
Yeah.
Or,
Jamaica's
like, severely damaged.
Place. You see goats like dogs and cats on the side of the road.
But they also have that anchor that was supposedly from one of Columbus's boats. It just you would think like this would be like in a museum or something, but it's just literally sitting on a street corner. Like, apparently it's been stolen a lot. It's just this big old anchor, and they've just got it just plopped on the ground at like a street corner.
Well, it's like if you ever go see Plymouth Rock, it is extremely underwhelming.
Yeah, it's a rock.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess in my head, I was thinking like big rock, big enough to be a landmark, like Pride Rock or something.
Mm-hmm. What's Pride Rock?
From The Lion King.
Oh, that's what I thought, but I was like, no.
It's like Pride Rock. It's painted rainbow, and it's like...
No, I was thinking like a really big rock, but no, it's just like I've seen rocks at the end of someone's driveway bigger than that.
It's just like an average like lawn boulder.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of, I looked into lawn boulders. They're quite expensive.
Okay, you idiot. Why would we need lawn boulders? That's a nice boulder.
That is a nice boulder.
I wanted to get some lawn boulders so that like me and Brian could do some Husafell stone stuff.
Oh God.
Right, Brian?
No.
You don't think that'd be fun?
No.
Get some boulders and carry them around the yard?
No.
Am I the only one?
You are the only one. Sorry.
Well, I've seen people making Atlas stones, but you get an exercise ball and fill it with cement.
Yeah, if you actually want to make an Atlas stone, like you can buy a mold and everything, but it's like by the time you get the mold and you get all the concrete, it's expensive.
Yeah, so you just take an exercise ball, cut a hole in it, and fill it full of concrete.
Still, you need a lot of concrete.
I mean, an exercise ball. How big is that? Like
how much would that? It depends. If you're using like a yoga ball, I mean, if you fill a yoga ball with concrete, you're going to have like a 480-pound Atlas stone.
No, because you'd have a flat circular
that's
disc.
the other thing, is it's not a hardened mold, so it's just going to flab out and you'll have a hard disc. It's useless.
Well,
because I'd really
you think so? You think it would?
Yeah, because it's rubber. The weight of the concrete's going to flatten it out. I really would like to have an Atlas Stone or 5.
Well, but wouldn't that be easier to pick up,
Yeah, but that's not the point.
That's the point.
The point is that it's a sphere. They're just so expensive, but I want some. They'd wreck the yard.
Yeah, you can do it
a bunch of dents.
Yeah, I'd have a bunch of dents in the yard.
You just do it behind your shed, and she'll never see that you did it.
Can't fit between the shed and the fence.
That's why you're
not carrying an Atlas
disc one, so you can set it up on its side.
That's why I just thought it'd be nice to get some boulders.
No, sorry.
Yeah, why would you want a boulder in this neighborhood?
Yeah,
to carry around in the backyard, not to display as like a landscape feature. Be full sturker.
Dig one up.
Dig one up.
Dig deep enough. Take a corner and just start digging.
Just get a huge block of limestone.
Okay, so as far as the topic, I think it's probably psychological from the stressors of such a horrendous event.
Some of these have been caught on video, right?
The ghosts?
Yeah, there's like taxi videos of it.
There's a lot of stuff.
That camera get a lot of PTSD?
Yeah, it did.
I don't know.
That flooding.
I don't know. In like this day and age, I don't it's hard to believe any like ghost footage.
So you don't believe UFO footage either, is what I'm hearing.
I agree. It is hard to believe footage and stuff because so many things could be altered. You don't know.
I think that we live in a time and in a world, and this, I don't mean to be insulting with this, but I feel like it's harder to justify atheism than to justify theism, because there's evidence of all these weird, unexplainable things all the time that we don't have an explanation for yet. So surely at some point science will come around, but it's much easier from a religious perspective for us to just be like, yeah, it's ghosts or something, where like you're in the difficult position of like, what could this be? I feel like you're in a more difficult spot where we can just accept it at face value and be like, yeah, spirits, ghosts.
Someone can fake a video like that from a laptop.
Oh, absolutely. You can fake a video. But...
but also, I mean, I don't know.
A lot of the times,
I like to believe that if somebody has a personal experience, that they wouldn't lie about something like that. And so I want to believe them. And I mean, of course, if I had a personal experience and I genuinely thought it was some kind of phenomena, you know, whatever, I would hope that people would believe me.
Well, yeah, and I'd put it this way. I, as a person who's done not a ton of video editing, but a lot more than the average person, I'd have a hell of a time trying to put a ghost in a video. And also, what would be the point? What's the motivation? There's no glory, there's no money that comes with like having a ghost video.
Well, it depends on the person creating it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, when there's a lot of them out of a certain area, you get to a point where you're like, well, why would all of these people go to this trouble to fake a ghost video?
Is it a bunch of people or a person or a ad agency?
Now, Ghost Adventures, that's not, don't get me started on that.
That show's terrible.
That's a bunch of bull.
And Zach Bagans needs to be.
And they just make a joke of those ghosts. Those poor souls.
We need to do an episode about this at some point. But Hell House, Gary, Indiana.
I was trying to tell.
I had never been so angry because I remember the news stories about the things that were happening to that family. And then Zach Bagans buys that house and shoots a documentary there where he just fakes a whole bunch of garbage and makes
Trigger
the whole
warning at the beginning and everything.
He makes the whole thing seem like it was just a bunch of fake garbage. But and what that did was, it was like, yeah, it made him money, it made people interested, but it minimized this family's experience. I remember the news story about this mom taking her son to the hospital and him running up the wall and climbing on the ceiling and like all these weird things that were happening to them. And then he buys this house and he's like, I'm gonna lock myself in with my biceps and a camera. And like, yeah, and then like you never see anything happen the whole time, but then at the end he sees something so terrifying it damages his eyes for life. And it's like, dude, you had glasses in the first place.
See, and I feel like people like that are what makes people also be
he makes people skeptical.
Real. That's stupid.
People like
dumb,
him just make people skeptical of like any kind of paranormal thing because he's clearly faking it. Like all of these shows, like Ghost Hunters, things like that, and it's an open secret. Like everyone knows all of these paranormal shows are faked.
Yeah,
but
it sounds like the plot of the remake of Ghostbusters.
Maybe, I don't know, but like I never saw that, and I won't watch it. But like one of the things I really got into was not that one, but there's a podcast called Jim Harold's Campfire. It's just a guy who has a podcast where people call in and they tell their own personal stories, like things that have happened to them. And some of them are like really good, really terrifying. But then on the other hand, I joined the Facebook group, and some of these people are nuts. They'll post pictures of like mold growing all over their filthy house, and they'll say, what could this possibly be? This is something paranormal.
Mold.
And it's like,
it's
no,
mold.
Clean your house.
Yeah. So.
Like some of these people are crazy, and maybe they tell their story in a convincing way, but
so anyway, I don't know. I believe there's probably people seeing ghosts and stuff, but I also believe there is probably people that are like, you know, it's their way of coping, and you know, it's kind of messing with their head.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So
I think it's a combination of all of it. I think every one of us is right.
Yeah. What do you think, Dr. Beej over there not saying nothing?
Breenar?
What do I think about
What's
the ghost?
the doctor have to say?
I think they're real. I've made my views known on ghosts.
Good.
It's like, I think they're real. Never seen one. Probably won't. But until then, I don't got any reason not to.
Why Dr. Beej, by the way? We've never talked about this.
I don't know.
Doctor. It was kind of funny that it was there, and I just never understood why.
I don't
just kind
remember.
of went with it, like Brian's belief on ghosts. Never seen it, never had his own experience,
I don't remember what the reason was. I had a joke about it.
It was a long time ago, I'm sure.
No. It was like 3 years ago.
Really?
There was a joke that I made, and I was like, I'm going to be Dr. Beej.
I just feel like when you make a username or a gamer tag or something like that, it happens at a young age and then it just stays for a long time.
Mine happened because IUPUI made some kind of like username,
an email
for me.
address.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm just gonna use that for all my gamer tags. Like,
see, like mine, I've used for everything since I was like a little kid because it came from like a stupid childhood nickname.
Yeah,
that made no sense.
Is that pretty straightforward on mine?
pretty straightforward.
I'm a doctor. Straightforward.
I wonder if anyone's ever thought, like, wonder if he's really a doctor, like when they see that.
No.
Highly unlikely, but you never know. You never know. I think
the only reason it's doctor was because Beach was already taken. And you can't put spaces in it. On Xbox, you can have a space between your name. In this one, it's like you got to have an underscore if you're going to do open air. I couldn't do open air almost anything with just Beach.
So then it's like,
so I was like, fuck it, I'll just put a title at the beginning of it.
And then it just keeps going.
It's funny to think about when you're playing like Call of Duty or something, who the people you're playing with might be.
I think about that a lot.
There's
like,
no reason.
What they're thinking.
Yeah, they could be a doctor. They could be T-Pain. T-Pain plays Call of Duty.
I like
I played the other day with what's that? God, what's
Cunny?
No, some female, like her. She had a TikTok like song that like was big. I'm trying to think of her name. Doja Cat or Dog or something. What's her name? You know.
How do you know you played with her?
I'm not saying I played with her. I'm saying the username was that. No, like underscores. There was a space in between the words. No numbers. And I just thought, you never know.
Yeah.
Have you seen those videos of this guy who's doing the Donald Trump voice and he pretends to be Trump playing Call of Duty?
I can't believe they got me like that.
It's funny.
They've been doing that.
So I think about, like, you know, people think about different people and like these, they have this filter in their mind, like, oh, a doctor wouldn't be doing this or that. And I remember a year or two ago, we went on a boating trip, or it's last year, we went on that boating trip and somebody did a whole bunch of beer bongs and then hopped on the tube and got thrown off, and I was like, that is somebody's attorney.
We won't say who.
We won't say.
Wow, it only narrows it down to like
me,
three different.
That put a lot of things in perspective. It's like we're all the same. Like, no matter what your career, no matter what you do, we're all trash.
I'm gonna say that there's like, you look at some like rich guy bachelor pads. I think there's a subreddit for that. And there's a dude, and guess what he spends all his money on?
Anime body pillows.
Nope. Anime figures and manga and guns.
Yeah, well,
like, dude's got a $30,000 life-size model.
If you were like a multimillionaire and you don't have a gun room, there's something wrong with you.
I'm sure there's plenty of those.
But this dude, he had like a two-story house where it was high ceilings with a loft, and it was just glass cases full of figures, like tens of thousands of dollars of figures. And it's like, hey, it's your money, man. You earned it. Do what you want with it. And they're all like individually lit up and everything. Like, this dude paid good money to get some fucking like electrical run through these things.
He's definitely got a mail order bride.
No, he just pays for top tier prostitutes, probably.
That's essentially what a mail order bride is. This one that never leaves.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta pee. Brian, say the line.
Fuck you.
For me.
Have fun, everybody. Yay.
There we go.
I'm a ghost.
I'm a ghost.